In a forest, Drasa wakes up when she hears a plane arrive. She grabs her weapon, and as soon as a man steps off the plane, he gets shot in the head. Meanwhile, former Marine Levi wakes up from a nightmare and decides to clear his mind by relaxing at the beach. The next morning, he gets a text telling him to go to the Marine Corps base. Later at the base, Levi meets Agent Bartholomew. She knows about his impressive record as an elite sniper and the fact that he doesn't have any family or friends. She's there to offer him a job. In Lithuania, Drasa meets her father at the cemetery on the anniversary of her mother's death. Her dad has just found out his cancer can't be treated, so he tells her that if he's not dead by February 14th, he'll take his own life so he can join his wife on Valentine's Day. By September, Levi wakes up on a plane after being knocked out by anesthesia. He asks a soldier nearby where they are, but she says she's not allowed to tell him. She takes all his personal items and says they're entering a no-fly zone, so he has to jump and walk the rest of the way. Levi grabs the gear bag and jumps, waiting for the right moment to open his parachute. He lands safely and starts his long trip, which includes a lot of climbing, walking, and camping. Eventually, Levi reaches the edge of a huge gorge. There, he meets a soldier named JD, who says he's been stationed there for a year and still doesn't know where they are. They head to the West Tower, which runs on solar power, has a backup generator, collects rainwater, grows vegetables, and has wild animals for hunting. Across the gorge is the East Tower, but they're not allowed to talk to the guard over there. The gorge is surrounded by landmines and tactical barriers on the north and south sides, and there's no way to cross. As JD shows Levi around, he explains the job. Every day, Levi must walk along the western edge and refill the ammo in the automatic gun turrets, which are placed every 600 meters. He also needs to check the containment fence, floating mines and cloakers, devices that send fake signals to satellites to hide the gorge. A radio checks in every 30 days, but there's no way to contact the outside world. If there's an emergency, there's a panic button that activates something called the stray dog protocol. JD doesn't know what that does and tells Levi to just run if it ever gets triggered. JD says this place has been around since the Cold War, when military teams from different countries agreed to keep it a secret. Even world leaders don't know it exists. Levi's only job is to make sure nothing from the gorge gets out. It sounds insane, and JD used to think so too, until he saw something. The guards call them hollow men, and now their screeches can be heard echoing through the gorge. JD says that back in the late 1940s, 3 horseback battalions were sent into the gorge to wipe everything out, but no one came back. So now the military is just focusing on keeping everything contained. After that, JD leaves the tower and hikes to the pickup point. A helicopter picks him up using a rope, and a soldier asks for his identity. As soon as JD says the password, the soldier shoots him in the head and drops his body in the mountains. A month later, Levi has gotten used to the boring routine. He walks around the area, keeps the security systems working, and checks in on the radio. The voice on the other end just asks if everything's fine, then hangs up before Levi can say anything else. While working in the garden, Levi notices movement at the other tower. He grabs his binoculars and sees Drasa cutting wood. She sees him too, but doesn't react and goes back to work. One night during a storm, Levi wakes up from a nightmare and knocks over a glass. The sound makes him think he's under attack, so he grabs a gun. When he feels pain in his foot, he realizes he just stepped on the broken glass and it was a false alarm. He calms down. While he's cleaning his foot, he notices Drasa is still awake and watching him. But when she sees him looking back, she goes to bed. Another month goes by, and Drasa has to celebrate her birthday alone. Bored, she fires her gun to get Levi's attention and holds up a sign asking for his name. Levi writes back that they're not supposed to talk, so Drasa replies with her name and says she can do whatever she wants on her birthday. Levi smiles and replies with his name too, raising a glass to toast with her. Then Drasa plays loud music and starts dancing. She asks Levi to dance too. He tells her he's a terrible dancer but a great sniper. Drasa laughs and shoots his water bottle. Levi grabs his gun and shoots her bottle too. Then Drasa puts another bottle on her head, ready to keep playing. But she suddenly stops when she sees something moving in the gorge. Levi looks down and sees strange creatures climbing up the gorge wall on his side. They look like people made out of trees. He quickly shoots one of them, and it falls onto a mine, which explodes and brings down most of the climbers. Some creatures are still climbing, so Levi keeps shooting while Drasa joins in with her machine gun. Working together, they take down all the monsters in a few minutes. Just when they think it's done, one of the creatures reaches Drasa's balcony. She shoots it a few times, then kicks it off. Right after that, more monsters start climbing her side of the wall, so both soldiers team up again to stop them. Another creature falls on a mine and causes a new explosion. A piece of metal flies off and hits Drasa in the shoulder. Then the creatures start climbing up both walls at the same time, so Levi and Drasa use the machine guns to shoot them. They also activate more mines as backup, which this time works and kills all the monsters until no more show up. The next morning, Drasa takes care of her wound and tells Levi that it was her best birthday ever. After that, Levi goes down to fix all the damage and replace the mines. Suddenly, a drone flies out of the gorge and and disappears into the sky. In December, Levi decorates a tree in the forest with a bunch of lights to look like a Christmas tree. He also puts up a sign for Drasa. After that, they start doing a lot of things together, like building snowmen with each other's names, playing chess, and using pots as drums. On February 14th, Levi sees Drasa crying while looking at a family photo. He asks why she didn't go on patrol earlier, and she says she's just having a tough day and wishes he could be there with her. Levi uses tools from the armory to build a special device and shoots a rocket across the gorge. It gets stuck on a tree and causes a small fire. Drasa runs out to put the fire out and notices that a rope is attached to the rocket. She ties the rope tightly to the tree, runs back to the tower, and sees Levi asking her to dinner. Levi slides down the rope to cross the gorge, but gets stuck halfway. Since he's wearing gloves, he uses his hands to move along the rope. Soon, he reaches Drasa's tower and gives her some flowers. She tells him he smells bad from all the climbing, so he agrees to take a shower. While he's showering, Drasa takes his uniform and leaves him some nice clothes that belong to someone who was there before. At dinner, they talk about their time working as mercenaries and how this kind of job messes with their heads. Then they dance together and end up hooking up. The next morning, Levi starts sliding back across the rope to return to his tower. At that exact moment, the Hollow Men show up on his wall and set off a mine, causing a big explosion that cuts the rope. Levi starts falling and quickly opens his parachute. Drasa rushes to the armory, grabs a bunch of weapons and a parachute, and jumps into the gorge too. After falling for a few miles, she lands in a river. Her parachute gets stuck on a rock, so she has to cut herself free. The current pulls her away and slams her into a rock, making her drop the auto ascender by accident. The river keeps pushing her, but she grabs onto some tree roots and climbs out of the water. Meanwhile, Levi is knocked out and hanging from a tree. Suddenly, a branch starts moving and it turns out to be a monster. When it gets close to Levi, he wakes up and starts shooting at it while trying to untangle the ropes from the tree. He falls down and lands on what looks like mud, but it starts moving because it's actually the mouth of another monster. The sticky stuff traps Levi as the mouth begins to close in on him. Thankfully, Drasa heard the gunshots and shows up just in time to shoot the creature and save Levi. She uses a knife to cut the sticky stuff off his body, and then they both start heading toward the wall to look for the rope. Suddenly, they hear loud screeching, and two Hollow Men show up riding horses that also look like trees. The riders attack them with swords, and one of them jumps off his horse to land on Drasa. She stabs it in the neck with a knife to knock it down, then shoots it in the face. The other rider takes Levi's gun using a whip, so Levi pulls out another gun and shoots both the horse and the rider, killing them fast. After that, Drasa checks her bag and realizes the auto ascender fell in the river. Since the walls are way too tall to climb, they're stuck down there. Drasa thinks they should follow the river because it has to lead somewhere. Levi takes a closer look at the creature he killed and notices it's wearing an old military uniform. That means the Hollow Men are actually the missing horseback battalions from the story. They keep walking through the forest and find hundreds of skeletons along the way. Eventually, they reach an abandoned town where all the buildings are covered in weird mutated plants. The ground also has cracks from what looks like an earthquake. They hear more screeching, meaning more monsters are on the way, so they run into a church to hide. Inside, they see skeletons sitting on the benches. Levi smells cyanide, which means these people ended their own lives because they couldn't take it anymore. Suddenly, they hear something, and Drasa looks up to see a giant spider jump at her. She pushes it away and falls to the ground, where another spider comes at her. She stabs it quickly. Two more spiders go after Levi and he shoots them. More spiders show up, surrounding them, and both Levi and Drasa keep firing to kill as many as they can. Drasa runs out of bullets, so Levi covers her while she reloads. They start running toward the door, but just then some Hollow Men break in. Now they have to fight off both the spiders and the Hollow Men at the same time. Drasa starts smashing a monster's head on a table and then throws it off, and the spiders start climbing on it too. Levi also has to fight a few monsters up close, and after some effort, he manages to shoot them. Then Drasa shoots a grenade at the back wall, blowing a huge hole in it so they can escape. Levi and Drasa run through the forest, but they can still hear the creatures screeching in the distance. Since they're too out in the open, they decide to move closer to the wall. They find an old door and go inside, discovering a facility that's also been taken over by plants. As they go deeper, they figure out this place used to be a military lab. There are skeletons everywhere and a generator, which Drasa turns on. Levi finds a tape, so they play it using a projector. In the film, a scientist explains that it's the year 1946 and that this community was created as part of a top-secret group of countries. During the last years of World War II, they had been working on biochemical missiles, but 6 days before this video was recorded, an earthquake hit the area and caused a chemical leak. The scientists started working non-stop to stop the toxin, but the chemical mixed with the DNA of the local plants and animals, mutating them. Being around the toxin for just a few hours didn't cause harm, but the longer the scientists worked, the more it started to change them too. The woman in the video even shows that branches are growing from her stomach. Luckily, since the base was located in the gorge, the toxin never spread to the rest of the world. In another room, Levi and Drasa find a computer that looks like it's from the late 2000s, meaning people kept coming here even after the first accident to continue the experiments. Levi turns it on and finds out this place is owned by Darklake, a private military company. The drone they saw earlier was gathering samples for Darklake's experiments, which are trying to make super soldiers. The towers and hired guards are used to keep all of this a secret. Levi also finds something called the Stray Dog Protocol on the computer, which is actually a nuclear bomb meant to destroy the area if another leak ever happens. As they head out, Levi tells Drasa that coming on this mission was worth it because he got to meet her. They open the door and toss a smoke grenade before stepping outside. Suddenly, a hollow man uses his whip to grab Drasa by the ankle and drags her away. As he pulls her through the forest, Drasa tries to cut the whip with her knife, but she crashes into a tree and drops it. She also tries to shoot, but can't aim right because she keeps getting hit by rocks and branches. Levi follows the tracks and ends up at the same facility where the nuclear bomb is kept. Inside, the hollow man has hung Drasa up and is twisting the branch stuck in her stomach to torture her before pulling it out. Drasa kicks him in the chest and pulls the ropes off the beam to free herself. Then she pushes the hollow man away and grabs a piece of metal to use as a weapon. The hollow man keeps overpowering her, and the snake in his chest tries to attack too, but Drasa doesn't give up. She manages to cut off the snake's head and throws the metal at the hollow man. It doesn't hurt him much, but it makes him really angry, and he starts chasing her around the room with his sword. Drasa grabs some bones to block his attacks and makes a torch using the fire in the room, which she uses to burn him. While the hollow man screams in pain, Levi shows up and shoots him until he dies. The two soldiers hug after reuniting. Levi checks the hollow man's uniform and sees the name tag, realizing it was the first guard who used to work at his tower. He takes the sword from the creature, and together they head out. Soon, they reach the place where the chemical leak first happened. There are mutated creatures everywhere stuck in the goo made by the toxin. Levi and Drasa start walking across a bridge, feeling uneasy as they see faces breathing inside the goo. Drasa steps on a root by accident, and when she pulls on the sticky stuff, the bodies start falling and trying to grab her. Levi quickly cuts the roots with the sword and pulls her free. Bigger monsters begin to wake up and roar. Levi keeps swinging the sword to clear the way, but then a goo-covered whip grabs his ankle and trips him. Drasa throws a grenade behind them and causes a huge explosion. The creatures catch on fire, and the flames spread through the goo as Levi and Drasa run up the stairs to escape. Later, they search the town and find military jeeps in a garage. They fix up an engine and drive one of the jeeps for hours until they reach the spot where the rope broke. Levi ties the rope to the jeep while Drasa fires at the hollow men trying to reach them. When she runs out of bullets, they switch places. Once the jeep is ready, they start climbing the wall. Everything goes fine at first, but then they see the hollow men are climbing after them. They kick one off, and Levi uses the sword to kill more. Drasa finds an axe in the toolbox and uses it to fight off the creatures too. While Levi pushes a monster against the wheels, Drasa smashes one that lands on the windshield. Then a hollow man jumps at Levi, knocking him off, but he manages to grab onto the jeep and hangs there. He stabs the gas tank before climbing back inside, then lights a flare and throws it at the monsters. When the flare mixes with the leaking propane, it causes a huge explosion that burns all the enemies, but also blows up the jeep. Levi hits the wall and breaks his leg, so Drasa has to help him up. Since they're close to the top now, they decide to cut the rope and let the jeep fall down onto the remaining hollow men. After that, they climb the rest of the way up and make it back to Drasa's tower. While treating their injuries, they agree to stay apart for 5 days to make sure they're not infected. They also decide they want to run away together, so they come up with a plan to destroy the gorge. They kiss, and Levi tells Drasa he loves her before using a grappling gun to jump back to his own tower. The next day during the radio check-in, instead of the usual worker, Levi's call is answered by Bartholomew. She says the computer in the lab was turned on. Levi says he didn't go into the gorge, so Bartholomew figures it must have been the person in the other tower. She gives Levi a mission to kill that person. Levi pretends to agree before the call ends, but it turns out the lab computer had a camera, and Bartholomew knows both Levi and Drasa were down there. She calls a commander and tells him to send a team to the gorge. The next morning, while the soldiers are setting up some mines for their plan, Drasa writes, "I love you back," for Levi. Just then, they see a helicopter coming, so they run into the forest. When the team finds both towers empty, they send out drones, and a chase begins. The drones shoot at them, but Levi and Drasa fire back and take them out one by one, getting a few injuries in the fight. Once they reach a high spot, they get into sniper positions and start shooting the cloakers. The mines they planted earlier go off and cause a chain reaction, blowing up all the cloakers nearby. With the gorge now exposed, the Stray Dog Protocol is triggered. Bartholomew and her team run to the helicopter to escape, while Levi and Drasa run as fast as they can. The nuclear bomb goes off, and the huge huge explosion hits the helicopter, crashing it and killing everyone inside. Sadly, Levi is also thrown by the blast and falls off a cliff into a river. Drassa gets away and hides in a cave, waiting for him. After a month with no sign of Levi, Drassa decides to leave on her own. Sometime later in France, Drassa is working as a waitress. One day, she's shocked to see Levi sitting at one of the tables. He tells her it took time to recover from his injuries before they reunite with a kiss. Don't forget to subscribe. Here's some more interesting story you don't want to miss.